Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to take a look at another of these Mojo Fun 2020 figures, and this is actually another brand new sculpt from them. This is their 2020 version of the Triceratops. Now they actually did already release a 2020 Triceratops, but if you remember the review I did of that one was actually a much more vintage style to it, a much more vintage appearance, and was kind of my understanding to be an ode to the old school Triceratops. This is much more of a new school Triceratops, and overall has a pretty similar appearance to the previous version, which I was really hoping to find and locate in my storage area to display with this one, but unfortunately, as always, that was not possible until everything gets straightened up in my storage area and I can actually start reaching my figures again. I could not pull the other one out to display with this one, but I can say straight away that this is actually pretty small in comparison to the previous version. The other version wasn't large, but this one definitely appears to be a little bit smaller than the previous Triceratops, which was actually a pretty big hit, I believe, for Mojo Fun. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at this one and see how well it compares and see how excited people get for this version over the last version. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see overall the head sculpt is actually quite jam-packed when it comes to really nice, very fine detailing. You've got some really beautiful skin texture all throughout the head sculpt of the animal, beautiful detailing around the eye as well. Once you actually come up onto the frill, you can see some really nice, very large scaling going on up there on the frill, along with some beautiful detailing on the top of the head. The eyes are painted with a nice blackish coloration. They do include a very nice looking gloss coat, helping them shine quite realistically. You can see that as far as the beak goes, there's some beautiful detailing, lots of kind of cracks and crevices throughout the beak area of the Triceratops. Very nicely sculpted out and painted tongue in there. It doesn't really appear to be textured or anything, but it kind of gives off the appearance that maybe the Triceratops is letting out some sort of a noise, some sort of a yell. It almost kind of looks like it's in almost a defensive position, like I could see quite a few of these Triceratops in kind of a circular motion surrounding some young inside to defend from some predators. Sort of the feeling I get overall from the sculpt, even the way that the legs are positioned, it just kind of looks like it's going to hold its ground and stay still in this spot and kind of defend its territory. Sort of what I get as far as the overall appearance to the figure goes. You can see that as far as the actual spikes up here on the head go, when I turn it, you can really see that they do have some pretty nice sculpt and detail included within, some nice cracks and crevices again throughout the horns, everywhere that you can turn them to look. It really does look quite nice. They are painted with a nice blackish coloration, as this is kind of a mixture of browns and blacks for the most part, aside from the underbelly. So there is quite a bit of dark coloration going on for the figure, but I feel like maybe it would be like a female. It's not very bright at all, but I feel like all the colors used look pretty natural for the most part. You've got some nice detailing down here in the face that runs out onto this kind of spike that sticks out here in the cheekbone of the dinosaur. Really nice detailing all over the face for sure. I love this area right here. Beautifully sculpted. And again, you've got the very nicely glossed and painted black eye right there. As you run along the frill, you can see that these kind of spikes that litter and run along the border of the frill of a Triceratops, they're all painted with a blackish coloration. They all have kind of a glossy appearance to them a little bit, and you've got some areas where the black kind of creeps in onto the actual frill of the Triceratops. Once you come back here, you can take a look at the rear of the frill, which also sports some pretty nice sculpt, and the spikes are also painted quite nicely on the back of the frill as well. The neck region is sculpted quite nicely. Lots of really nice skin wrinkling over here on this side. The Triceratops has its head to the left, so that neck detail, that skin detail would really be scrunching up for sure. You don't see quite as much of it over here. You can still kind of see some movement here in the throat here, the skin hanging in the throat, but as far as the overall skin scrunching up, you definitely see a lot more of that going on over here. So really nice, very minute details like that, in my opinion, make figures sink or swim as far as just how good they look. As you move back here into the body, you can get a sense of the shoulder blade there. Really nice skin texture. I love the scaling all over this Triceratops for sure. As you move down here into the front leg, it transitions from browns into this very nice dark black color, similar to what you see up here all over the head. Very similar to that, really nicely sculpted foot. I really quite like the detailing of the foot and the toes. You've got the really nicely sculpted nails, although everything on the foot is kind of just painted with that blackish coloration, and that's the same for both the front and back feet. You don't really see any color variation as far as the nails go or anything, but I still think it looks quite nice. The detailing here in the wrist also looks really good. Beautiful creases and cracks and stuff in that area. Beautiful skin folding going on. You can also see some skin creasing right there and back here. You can also see the skin stretching off of this rear leg a little bit there. You've got some really nice osteoderms that run all over the side of the Triceratops. The spinal column is also highlighted with that nice dark black coloration that runs the entire length of the very nicely curved tail. You've got the hip bone quite nicely present there. Very large muscle tone there, but you don't see it defined so much. They haven't applied any kind of paint that kind of makes that area jump out at you, and that's something they've done a lot when it comes to the 2020 line. So I actually do like that they didn't do that, just because it gives their figures some difference, some variation, because if you painted every single figure the exact same way when it comes to the overall style, it's going to kind of get old. So they did not do that here with this Triceratops, which kind of makes this one a little bit of a breath of fresh air, I think. You've also got a very nicely sculpted knee here. As you lead down, you can see the calf. The rear of the leg is painted with a nice light white coloration, which is primarily the entire underside of the figure, which you can see also sports some really beautiful skin texture all over the place. Definitely really nice. And then once you come out here into the tail, you can see lots of creasing here in the skin as well, along with some nice scaling and the osteoderms that run out to the length of the really beautifully curved short Triceratops tail. Looking at the opposing side, the animal for the most part is in the same position as far as the legs go. There's just ever so slightly difference when it comes to the positioning, but for the most part they look like they're pretty much the same position. Again, really holding true to the fact that the Triceratops looks like it's going to stay right there in that spot and defend its young or something. It looks like it really does not want to move, like its legs are planted quite nice and firm. So that looks really cool for sure. And you can also kind of just generally see the muscles are tensed all over the legs, in both the front and back legs. Again, kind of showing like the Triceratops is making sure that its legs stay stiff in the position that they are in. So I really feel like that is the inspiration for the sculpt for sure. You've got some nice skin wrinkling going on right there. Some more nice skin wrinkling in that vicinity as well. And then you can come back here. You can see the hip bone, the very nice musculature of the leg, which I did just make mention of. And then, of course, in general, really beautiful osteoderm appearance to the skin texture, as well as the really nice scaling all over the body. I feel like it's a very nice looking Triceratops. Beautiful detailing as we run out the length of the tail. Really nicely painted as well as far as the colors they've chosen. I feel like it's really nice natural color tones for a Triceratops. And you can actually see a few different variations of brown kind of creeping through, like right there and here. A little bit of darker browns here and there that help to kind of give it a fairly decent appearance as far as skin tone goes. So I really do like this Triceratops quite a bit. Definitely a very cool addition to the 2020 line. So as far as a length goes on our Triceratops, from the snout to the tail, you're looking at about 6¼ inches or about 16 centimeters for a length, and for a height about 3¼ inches or around 8½ centimeters, somewhere in that range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon, all next to this Triceratops, again showing you that it is definitely a smaller size when it comes to the Mojo Fun line. Some of the figures have kind of been smaller in comparison to each other. They're definitely not in any type of a scale when it comes to comparing each figure to the other, that's for sure, especially when you look at the size of some of the sauropods, but you can see next to the Attack Pack Colovosaurus that it's actually very similar in size to that dinosaur, so it's about an Attack Pack sized Triceratops, but regardless, I still think it looks really good. So this 2020 Mojo Fun Triceratops is definitely a really cool looking Triceratops figure. Do I like it as much as I like the one from last year? Not quite as much. I think I like the one from last year a little bit better than this one. I think the color scheme in general was a little bit nicer, but do I still like this version? Absolutely. I think it's very close as far as the sculpt goes to looking very similar to the one from last year. The size, again, is a little bit different. It's a little bit smaller than the previous version, but I really feel like as far as the sculpt goes, it's very, very similar and pretty much just as beautiful as the previous version. It is really, really nicely sculpted. Once you get close, take a look at the very fine detailing of the figure. It has an absolutely fantastic sculpt for sure. The eyes are so beautifully glossed. Even just sitting here talking about it to you guys, I'm looking at it, kind of staring back at me, and the eyes are glossed so beautifully that they genuinely look like real living animals' eyes with the light reflecting off of them. Such a perfect gloss coat used on the eyes of pretty much all of these 2020 Mojo Fun figures. The paint application of the figure is also really quite nice. I think the browns that they've used are all very naturalistic tones, something I could without question see being on a real living Triceratops, and I feel like all the paint application is pretty darn nicely applied for the most part. It really does look nice and natural on the figure, and overall, I feel like this Triceratops is really a fantastic, kind of a compact version of a Triceratops. So if you're looking for a very cool Triceratops that's not overly large and isn't going to take up too much room in your collection, this is without question a great choice. Really nicely done, once again, from Mojo Fun. So if you would like to pick this up, make sure you check everythingdinosaur.com, DeJenkins.com, or Minizoo, as I do believe Minizoo may already have this in stock currently. Regardless, one of those three websites are definitely a really good choice as far as picking this up from, because all three are very reliable and all three are great choices to order any type of a dinosaur figure from. So again, make sure you pick up this very cool 2020 Triceratops from Mojo Fun, but before you do that, don't forget to please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.